Good evening and welcome to another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. I'm your host, Chocolate Drop. Yep, and as usual, you're in for a fascinating program. Tonight we're going to talk about a subject that as the population ages, more and more people are going to find themselves in a position where they are now a caregiver. So we want to talk about, well, who cares for the caregiver? Think about that. Well, I'm going to introduce you to two of my guests. We have Ms. Tia Capers. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And we have Ms. Myrna Cooper. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, both these people are involved with public access, so we having access to public access, this is our opportunity to really deal with the subject matter in such a way that we don't have to worry about commercials, we don't have to worry about who's paying us to do it. We're going to speak freely in this brief 27 minutes that we have to discuss what we're talking about, all right?
Okay.
So, caregiving for the caregiver. Both of your parents at one point were involved with a healthcare facility. So let's talk about how they, give us a little backstory of how they ended up in a healthcare facility. Let's start with you.
Okay.
That's right. How did your parent end up in a...
Starting with me, about 11, 12 years ago, my mom had a brain tumor, a meningioma brain tumor on her left side, which left her disabled after brain surgery. So, and ever since then, it's been a journey, in and out of hospitals, in and out of nursing home facilities, you know, going through rehab therapies and stuff like that.
Okay, and that caught you totally off guard.
Totally off guard because her neurologist said that, you know, in a few weeks she'll be all recovered, and it would nothing like that.
But
so,
you all were optimistic, thinking that in 2 weeks she'll be home.
yeah, thinking it was, yeah, and she did too, because a lot of things that we could have done to prepare for this long, now 11, 12-year journey, we didn't do because she thought she was going to be able to go back to work and, you know, carry on with her life.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we want to talk about too, not knowing how long this would be. Myrna Cooper, tell us about your mother.
Well, unlike Tia, my mother got sick in December of 2020. And she, unfortunately, got COVID, which ramped up what we found was a dementia condition that she had. She came out of the hospital in January of
2020?
Of 2021
Okay.
on oxygen and with dementia and several other health care concerns or challenges. At that point, I took over. That's how I got to that point.
But prior to the COVID, she did not have any symptoms of dementia?
My mother was driving the first part of December 2020. She was living in her own home, managing her own personal business and finances. I dropped by the week before Christmas. She was confused, so I stayed. She became more confused and had an extreme drop in her oxygen level. So we had her ambulance, taken by ambulance to the hospital. We were told while waiting that she had COVID and we would not be able to see her from that point on. So I couldn't not even give her a hug at that point. She stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks. I took over from there. I didn't even give her a choice.
So again, in both cases, you know, normal, everyday activity, then your lives just changed totally.
And then she mentioned COVID. Now my mom is suffering from, you know, illnesses from COVID or challenges from COVID, from being in the nursing home. She got COVID twice last year from probably the staff because they were the only ones able to kind of come in and out at the time. And so, yeah, so she's also having oxygen-related problems or respiratory problems as a result of it.
Now, you mentioned your mother had some onset. Go ahead.
I was just going to share, my mom didn't enter to a facility. My mom didn't enter into a facility until approximately 1 year ago. I stayed with her for the first 6 months, called me naive, but I thought this would pass.
You're optimistic.
Well, yeah.
Then work demands became more prevalent in my life, so I brought her to my home to give myself an opportunity to utilize my office at the house.
Right.
And her health challenges increased and caused me to need additional help. That's when I sought out an assisted living community.
Now, that's a separate facility outside of your home.
Outside of my home. I had help in my home, thankfully, and because of my overwhelming desire to keep my mother safe, I kept my private duty CNA. So she went along with my mother to this assisted living community and stayed there with my mother until the day she passed, June 21st of this year.
Of this year. Wow. Okay, so sorry for your loss.
Appreciate that.
Condolences.
And so in your situation with regards to, at one point your mother was at your home,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
talk about,
Yeah.
and you had to have a person come to your
Yeah.
home.
After brain surgery, she went to like a brain injury rehab facility. After that, it was like time to go to a nursing home with rehab. So she did that. After that, then it was time to go home with rehab. And my mom's home is in Georgia.
Which
So
is a
I
whole
was,
nother thing
yes,
to do.
I was going back and forth from this area, from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Georgia, to Augusta, Georgia. So then I brought her here to a facility, a nursing home facility for rehab. And then she came to my home, and then she went through I guess the therapists were coming into my home for rehab with my mom. And eventually she went back to her home, and then I hired like a live-in caretaker. I had other caretakers. So she did that for a number of years.
So
And
you
then-
both had to kind of like learn how to do this on the fly.
Oh yeah, yes,
On the fly.
no manual.
Yeah. So what do you wish you had known earlier, now that you've on this journey as a primary care physician? Is there anything you said, I wish I had known what? Could someone have prepped you? Like someone watch this program, they'll learn something as a result of this.
Yeah.
If there was a problem, what would you have liked to have known earlier?
I wish. Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
If not, I have a follow-up.
I wish I had caught the signs of her symptoms of this dementia condition a bit earlier. I wish I understood what dementia meant and the irrational impact that it has on your families and on your loved ones. It just makes no sense as you're living through their condition, and it doesn't make sense
So
to
what are some
them.
examples of something that maybe she said or did that just didn't make sense, and you knew it really wasn't dementia, it wasn't the mother that you knew?
Drastic changes in her mood in very short periods of time. So she could be upset about the fact that she has lost her autonomy, and that I could redirect her with a picture, a photo from the past, a loving memory, and she could immediately come out of that and begin
back on track.
to laugh about the photo or the experience. My private duty CNA was a subject matter expert when it came to that. That's what allowed us to trust and pull her into our family.
You want to add something? No.
No, I was gonna just say for me, I just wish I had known all the questions to ask. Because when you're dealing with medical staff and you're dealing with a brain injury, and the brain is so delicate, and not having the right questions to ask, sometimes it leaves you in the dark. So you're finding your way along the way, and it's like, dang, I wish I had known to ask that. But this is months later, because coming out of the brain surgery, my mom was in a coma. I didn't know my mom was in a coma. I just thought the meds were really, really strong, because every day the
Knocked her out,
neurologist is coming by trying to,
Get some
tickle
kind of
her
reaction
or pinch her or
reflex.
get some type of reflex. And she knew my mom was in a coma, but I didn't know. So, just sometimes you just wish you know or knew the right questions to ask, so you can hold people accountable and so you can get the right answers.
And so perhaps for some of our viewers that thinking about, well, what if this were to happen to me? What would I like people to know in advance? So should something like this happen, at least they got a little direction, because nobody anticipate
No.
either the things that have happened to you. Yeah. from what you all shared so far, there's so many other questions that I almost want to go off script. So let me just do some rapid fire here. What about family members? You also, it's you. Are there any siblings, anyone else that perhaps could help you take care of your parent?
For me, I have a brother. He's in Georgia, and he has his own life and own challenges he's dealing with. So I don't really get a whole lot of help and support from him.
So it's all on you.
It's pretty much all on me. And then my mom has 7 living siblings, and they all live out of town. So it pretty much is just me. Yep.
I'm an only child.
Ooh. Which is a whole nother situation. The only child.
I was lucky enough to secure the private duty CNA. I was lucky enough to have my mother's niece come and support us. She lived in Virginia, but she would come and stay weeks at a time. I was lucky to have friends and my mother's friends in town that would support us for grocery store visits and quick runs. So that was helpful. And then without a doubt, my husband and my son stepped up to support through this process like no other.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you both kind of smiled when you talked about the private duty expert. Is that these people who are not relatives, but they become part of your family?
Yeah, they do.
You want to add anything else on
I had
that?
an excellent live-in, and she really cared for, I mean, shout out to Miss Velda, because she cared for my mom like I did, like I cared for my mom. And that helped because, again, my mom was in Georgia with the live-in that I found here in Charlotte. So I moved the lady down to live with my mom for I think it was about a year. And it was just, it took a lot of stress off of me every day wondering how my mom's doing, because I know Miss Velda got her. She's going to make sure she's clean, make sure she's, fed, make sure her basic care needs are met, and do some extra stuff. I mean, she went over and beyond for my mom, and that was so good,
You needed that.
and she was just like family. And when we traveled, she traveled with us, and she was right there to help,
So you all just give me so much I can feed off of, because I do have a little backstory here. So you say that she was so helpful and she was like family.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this. You talk about family. When your mother passed away, the person who was your private duty nurse, tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Well, we bonded. She'd call mom from time to time, and she'd call me sister. We bonded so much that we made sure to reference her in the hard copy obituary as well as the online. I couldn't let her go. My husband and I hosted a gathering for her and her family on this past weekend. I don't know that the relationship will ever sever.
So you may have lost your mother, but you gained a sister, I guess, right?
Yes.
That's nice. Really nice.
Brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, again, it's got to be taxing in terms of time, expenses, emotional drains. What could those extended family members do to ease some of the stress and pressure that the primary caregiver has to shoulder?
I'd say whatever they can.
Be more specific. Like
Well,
what?
whatever they can.
Because people will say, just let me know if you need. Let me help you. They'll say that. But what do you really need?
My Aunt Thelma, I'm telling you, without her throughout this whole journey, I just don't even know. Just talking to her on the phone.
It's good to have someone good to talk to.
She's in Florida, so having her to just listen to me vent or express concerns.
I think family really need to stay connected. Don't set yourself up for wishing you had connected with our loved one that's having this health challenge. Don't set yourself up for I woulda, shoulda, or coulda. Sometimes it only takes a call, a listening ear, an hour or two while we're out shopping for the household, whatever medical needs that our family members have. There were times that I gotta say friends were there more than family, but that's not to put family down because most of our family was out of state. But I want to thank the family that was out of state that kept the connection, called my mother, reminded her that the love was there, we still care. That reminded me and supported me in on the journey of the new business as usual for our family, the new normal.
Yes.
Because everything, there's so many dynamics that change.
Yep.
Financially, our living
Arrangements,
arrangements
you gotta-
changed.
Yep.
The dynamics of the family changed. The regular schedule changed. Your professional interactions and business engagements
I guess even to a
are
certain extent, the
impacted.
roles change from the parent almost becomes a child, and the child can become the parent, kind of.
While at the same time giving them the respect and the
Yes.
dignity
Yes.
that they require and deserve.
Absolutely.
Because I think
Because
you
mine
shared that.
doesn't listen to me.
So talk about
She
that.
reminds me
That who's
that
you're the child,
yes,
you're the daughter.
I'm the daughter. So a lot of times I'll get one of my aunts, my aunt Ola or my aunt Thelma.
Your mother's sister.
Yes, her sisters to convey something in a stronger way that more so than I can. Because yeah, she still rules, even though I'm just her advocate, her daughter, and, her caretaker.
So I'm hearing that there may be some pushback from the person who's receiving the care from the caretaker.
Yeah.
So give us some of your fears. Talk about some of the fears that you have had as it relates to becoming the caretaker, but not knowing how far to go, how far to push, how far to advocate, because that person still wants to. You talk about autonomy. They want to say, "I got this."
Yeah.
But they.
And sometimes you're the one, because they're getting, like you said, a new normal. They're getting a new normal as well. Being disabled or being, in this position
Can't do this, can't do that.
that they're not, they're not who they used to be. And sometimes they don't embrace it. I don't think my mom has ever embraced her new normal as being disabled. She's a very proud woman. She doesn't like to ask for help. So sometimes me asking, you okay, you cold, you this, it aggravates her. So sometimes she'll lash at me. Not really wanting to lash at me, but I'm the only one around, so I get it.
They say we always hurt. There's a song. We always hurt the ones we love, the ones we shouldn't hurt at all, something like that. So.
And then us, for our new normal, we can't take it personal. We have to just say, you know what, she's going through what she's going through. I got to look past that, and I still got to help her. I still got to support her. I still got to be an advocate, even when she's lashing out, even when she's upset or aggravated.
Yeah. And we talk about the new normal. I keep hearing that the new normal. So how you all's lives change now. We've gone hiking together in the past. And I wanted you to share with our viewers that one hiking incident that because your normal had changed, you couldn't do the thing that you normally kind of get away. You may need that break. But what happened on that hiking trip?
I felt the walls closing in on me, so I thought, things have been going all right over the past few months. I think I can step away and go on a hike with my friends. My husband was there, and we had our home set up such that he could see, any one of us could see if my mother took a spill. Nonetheless, we're on the hike and on our way up the mountain, and I get a call from my husband. I said, I think things are all right. He's just wondering where I am. I'm good. I get another call. He's not that type to keep calling if there's no issue. I couldn't catch that one because we're on the mountain, but I caught the third one. He said she's fallen and she broke her arm. And I ran down the hill. Met my husband and my son at the hospital, and yes, my mother had broken her, I believe, a humerus bone in her arm, yes, in her right arm, the one she's using, because she's right-handed, dominant arm. And there we are, of clean break. It wasn't just a fracture, so there was a requirement for surgery. And the saga begins, and
Just as soon as you thought you had a little breather, kind of take a break, take a hike.
Yeah.
You know, somebody said, go take a hike. Okay, great, I'm glad you do. I'll take a hike.
Oh, yeah.
And then it gets abruptly.
Yeah. Vacations are cut kind of
Oh,
short.
yeah.
Yeah. Or if at all, if you can squeeze one in.
What about that vacation getaways?
Yeah.
I want you to know that I didn't feel deprived because I was willing to
Yes.
love my mother through this process, just as she's loved me through my highs and lows.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some that can't do it. They can't emotionally or physically wrap their minds around it. And this is not to punish them, but find somebody who can. You know, preparation, I think, is the key so that no one of us finds ourselves in this position alone. There are ways to prepare. Sorry to cut you off.
Again, there's just so much to address. I did want to mention about how to be an advocate for your loved ones when if they're in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility or wherever they may be. These are people who are trained and supposedly know more about, how to take care. But if you see something that's out of line, how do you speak up knowing that you're going to probably put somebody in check, that when you leave, they got to take care of your loved one? What's that balance? What's that fine line? How do you be diplomatic and say, look, you got to, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for me, I just ask
Speak
questions.
to it.
I ask questions.
Okay.
I put them in the question zone.
Okay.
And I try not to, I watch my tone because, again, I'm just visiting my mom when she's in the hospital or at the nursing home for a few hours. When I leave, they do have to continue to care for my mom, and I don't want her to have any adverse, lashbacks because of something I've said or done. So I'll ask a question, and I'll follow up with another question, and then sometimes they answer their own, and then they'll apologize. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't do whatever. But you can't ignore it. If you see something that's not done or done right or neglect, you have to raise it. And I will say this, and I know we're probably coming to the end.
No.
Well, I will say this, in facilities, they always have posted a list of phone numbers. So if anybody doesn't feel comfortable addressing the staff, or if you've already addressed the immediate staff, you can always address, the corporate offices or the state, or dial 911 if it's that serious. But there
You
are
gotta
phone
tell it.
numbers posted. So, please, check those phone numbers out and make those phone calls. Yeah.
Cooper?
I like the idea of questioning. I would do that and add a little bit of a twist. Questions and asking for help.
Don't be afraid or ashamed to ask for help.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if I don't think the medication is correct, I'll ask for help. Help me to understand what's in this cup, because when I was doing it, this was my experience. Help me to understand why it looks a little different to me, because I'm not in the medical field. Folks like to help.
Yeah, I'm strong. I believe in that as well. Always
Yeah.
asking, how can you help me?
Yes.
See, being accused of something that you didn't do. You mentioned about dementia, and sometimes again the person just forgot. But if you've got an outside person coming into your home, and then this outside person is hearing accusation made against you, the primary caregiver, and you know that no, that's she just made that up, or he just made that up. How do you deal with something like that? Being accused of something that you didn't do when you're looking for you want the best for your loved one, but because your loved one is not, as they say, in their right mind, they may accuse you of something that you didn't do, and you got to convince this state person that that wasn't how that happened.
I think being prepared, gaining access and authority by legal means. That's important.
Power of attorney?
Yes.
Power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney
Yes.
as well.
There's a difference.
Secondly, keep good records, right? So that no one can refute what you have documented, and you can support by those financial records as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Keeping
You
receipts.
just want to add to that?
Keeping receipts, and it was a time my mom may have been frustrated because she was wanting to go back to her home in Georgia, and she told a social worker, she doesn't do anything for me, saying that I didn't. And the social worker can see my mom was, neatly dressed and taken care of, and she didn't pay no attention to it. But thankfully, that's how it played out, because
it could've played out a lot
otherwise it could have played out different. It could have had me in trouble. But thankfully, my mom was presentable, and she was just upset. She was wanting to go back to her home, and I was not wanting her to go just yet, because she was on a good road to recovery. But in the end, I had to let her go because the social worker said, well, she's in her right mind, and you can't hold her against her will, so she has to go.
networking and support groups, do you know of any of those that may help people who are providing care? Who's offering care to the caregiver? Any organizations that you could refer people to?
That's a good question.
Oh, thank you.
And I need an answer for that too. So if you know something, I'm listening up.
There is a National Alzheimer's Association and support group, as well as for dementia caretakers. We did a lot of research and found that it's important to understand the progression of those diseases, because when you don't understand them, you miss an opportunity to support your loved one through this process. You miss an opportunity to really connect and bond even further with them before the next step in their journey.
Okay, last thing is the family members that maybe they can help with letting you know in advance, that so you don't have to make a trip to visit your loved one if they're in a nursing home. If they're going to come, then that may free you up for that one day to go and do some stuff. Sure. Or maybe offer you a gift card to gas or something, or give you a free hotel stay or anything to give you an opportunity to be cared for, since you're doing the primary caregiving to your loved one. Yeah. Well, believe it or not, we're at the end of our program, and this is the part where we like to give our guests an opportunity to participate in a little ritual we call the eating of the chocolate. So I want to thank Ms. Tia Capers
Thank you.
and Myrna Cooper for taking time out of their obviously busy schedule to appear on tonight's episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. And yes, I'm going to have to do this with a pen just to bust the sip. Well, hold on. Would you all like some chocolate?
None for me.
None for me.
Nobody's going to eat chocolate? Okay, well, so never mind. I guess I just have to keep the whole box for myself. My name is Chocolate Drop, encouraging you, the viewer, to tune in each week, same day, same time, same channel, for another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. And also catch us on YouTube. You can see hundreds, thousands of, well, maybe not that many, but you can see some archive episodes of the Chocolate Box on YouTube. We'll see you next week. And so I'm going to keep talking. I guess this will look like